Welcome to A Teaspoon of Healing, where we explore the pathways to wellness and vibrant living. Listen to personal stories of healing and interviews with experts. Open a doorway to healing in your life. I'm your host, Dawn Damari. This week's episode is about making fitness a priority in your life and overcoming excuses. I'm chatting with Chad Austin, who is an author and a personal trainer. And if you're somebody who is starting a new fitness program, recovering from an injury, or just dealing with some roadblocks or making excuses, like I know I do, then stay tuned. Hi, I'm Dawn Damari, and you're listening to A Teaspoon of Healing. Today, I have Chad Austin here with me. He is a personal trainer, speaker, and author. He is the owner of Priority Fitness in Overland Park, Kansas. And he is the author of the book, Make Fitness a Priority: How to Win the Fight Against Your Excuses. Hello, Chad.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you for being a guest on A Teaspoon of Healing. And how are you today?
Pretty good. Good, nice weather, good day today. Good way to start the week.
Oh, good. Great. I'm glad the weather is good. Never been to Kansas, but in the summer, so is it humid?
Yeah, it gets pretty humid and hot in the summer, but
yeah. I'm looking forward to one day exploring more of this country, making a cross-country trip. I have a few questions for you. So your book is about winning the fight against your excuses. And excuses are a big roadblock to a lot of people's fitness goals. It's their own excuses. I know because I'm one of those people, so I'm not passing any judgment for sure. So how can one win the fight against their excuses?
Well, I think I am able to write the book because I know very well also. And so this applies to everybody. I think I'm an expert because I've used every excuse in the book. Make fitness a priority. Basically what it was kind of me evolving as a trainer and realizing that my goal, my purpose as a fitness professional is really to help people get long-term success and not just to help people with the short-term motivation that fueled them to come in the door. Is we always want fast results for something that's coming up, but we don't really normally make fitness a long-term part of our plans. Fitness is normally something we're putting off because we think we're too busy now. And so overcoming your excuses, really what it means is it's making it a priority. So it's making it just as important to you in your life and fitting it in your life like you do your other big priorities, which are your family, your career, your faith. And so it's kind of changing your mindset. So it's making it more of a long-term part of your life instead of just a temporary part of your life.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And yeah, a lot of people, they're motivated because they want to fit into a pair of jeans, or they want to get a summer body, or they want instant gratification. So the long-term fitness goals, and a lot of people probably don't think about that, but fitness is very important for a long-term health. And maybe you could give some examples of that, of why you need to be committed to that, why it's so important.
Yeah, I think most of us kind of find ourselves on a roller coaster when it comes to our fitness. I think when I was writing a few years ago, when I was writing one of my books, I don't remember who it was that said it, so I can't source it, but I know it was a stat that I found very compelling, that it was, most people lose weight or get in a fitness routine and then fall off of it 2 or 3 times throughout the course of the year. Mm-hmm. And so that was something that really was, really stood out to me as something I wanted to do a better job of keeping my clients from getting on that roller coaster ride. And part of it is just, we always we're attracted to instant gratification because we want fast results, because we have a deep desire to look and feel better. And it's normally for something coming up. So normally what gets us motivated at the time to make fitness a priority is we have something coming up. Like we have a wedding, we have it's swimsuit season, we have vacation, a reunion, an event, something like that. But if we don't ever take the time to ask ourselves, other than that event coming up, why this is important to us, why we want these results, then all of our motivation is centered around this event. And so as soon as the end day comes, as soon as that day comes, then all of our motivation leaves with it. And so once it's over, our motivation and everything to keep working out and keeping a routine is over also. And so if we don't take the time to look past that, then, I mean, along with our deep desire that we have to look and feel better, all the other gains we have from making fitness a priority in our life, like, less anxiety, more energy, less stress, less depression, all those things that we're gaining also are gone also. So just kind of helping people change their mindset to focus on all the good and the reasons, dig a little deeper to why this needs to be a long-term part of their life is kind of part of my job.
Great. So many people are intimidated by exercise. First time exercisers, but beyond, light exercise, say someone wants to really get in shape. How can they get past that intimidation? Whether it's the gym, if it's open in their area where they live, or hiring a trainer, or just getting started, couch to 5K. How can they get past that intimidation? Because it can be really intimidating.
It is very intimidating, and getting started is the hardest step. As one of my favorite things to say now is that the heaviest weight in the gym is the front door. And so it is. It's just whether it be, I mean, that's true for me for a lot of things. I'm definitely an introvert. And so whether it be going to a new gym class I hadn't been to before, or going to a new social event of any kind, taking that first step and going is the hardest thing. But I just like to remind people that, if you dig a little deeper and know why it's important, that's the first thing. But, I just have to remind people, if you're doing something for the first time, there's lots of things in your life that you're really good at now that you once had never done before. You once never drove a car. There was a time you didn't know how to do the job that you do now, that you're an expert in or a master in. And so you can and will figure it out. It's really the first step is just finding out why you want to do it.
Right. And there's a lot going on in our lives, and how can one make it a priority? What are some tips for you about making it a priority with everything else going on?
Yeah, I think making it a priority a lot of times it means overcoming the excuses that we're using to put it off. Mm-hmm. And so the big thing with fitness, when I wrote my first book, How to Win the Fight Against Your Excuses, I'd been in Toastmasters for a while, and I've been kind of learning more about what fitness means to me and what my philosophy is as a trainer and a fitness leader. And one thing I did to kind of help me figure out some direction with my writing is I did an online poll. And so my poll question was just, what are your top priorities in life? And so I won't ask you this because I kind of steered you to the right answer, since we've already talked about the title of my book. But when I asked this question online, I asked, what are your top priorities in life? I'd ask as many people as I could, and everybody, the top answers were family and career, and and that would probably be my first two answers too: family, career, faith. But nobody said health and fitness. And I was just so shocked by that. And the more and more I did some research and did some thinking about it, and this was about 4 years ago when this started, and so I really understand it now. But the reason we don't answer health and fitness is because health and fitness is always the thing we plan to get to later. Like, our biggest excuse is, I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have the energy. That's always the thing that we always kick the can down the road. We put it off till later. We think we're going to have more time later. And the problem with that way of thinking is just that all the obstacles and hurdles that we use in our lives now, that I don't have time, I'm too busy, all these obstacles that are in our way now, they're not going anywhere. So they're always going to be in our way, and we could always use them as an excuse to put fitness off until later, or to have an excuse to go through the drive-through. And so what I kind of had to do, I realized that, that question, what are your top priorities? People normally say those answers and they don't say fitness. But if I would change the way I ask it, if I were to say, what are some things you can do to improve your quality of life? If that were the question I would ask, I know exercise and eating better would be top answers. And so when I speak, my goal is not to convince people that eating right and exercise are important, because I know people already know that. They already understand the benefit you'd get from it. What I have to help people realize to get out of their own way is that even though they're busy and have all these obstacles and challenges that they face every day, they can still make fitness a priority now. And then if they choose to do that, their life will be better.
Awesome. That's great. Now, what about people that are either recovering from injury or illness? And this is kind of personal, so I can talk a little bit about that. I was a runner, never a competitive runner or anything. I mean, I did do a half marathon several years ago,
Mhm.
but then I got injured, and it was for a while I couldn't, and the doctor said I can't run on sidewalk or asphalt. I think it was the sidewalk that hurt me, or I was on the beach and it wasn't flat enough because I live by the beach and it was high tide, so it was kind of on an incline. I messed up my ankle and knee, but I am cleared to run, and I'm scared that I'll get injured again. Or it's
Yeah.
like I know how to do it and I don't need to push myself too much. And there's a high school track right next to where I live, which is a perfect kind of surface, but I'm scared to do it. How about that? If somebody was pretty fit, but I'm still, it's weird because I'm doing other exercises. I have a spin bike at home. I walk and I do weights and I watch my diet. So fit, I still look fine, but I just don't feel as strong as I did back then. And I miss it,
Yeah.
but I'm scared. I'm totally
Yeah.
scared I'm going to get hurt again. So I don't
Yeah.
know if
I
that's
think there's
common.
a Oh, I think it is. I think there's a couple different angles to this. I mean, for the being scared to being hurt again, I always think of the being an ex-athlete. I always think of football players or baseball players, or when they strain their hamstring. And so, like
Right.
some of our, I'm a huge Chiefs fan here, so we have a lot of speed on the Kansas City Chiefs team. But I always am worried when feel like that's the worst injury for someone that's known their strength is that they're really fast and they get a hamstring injury, because I've like pulled both
Mm-hmm.
of my hamstrings a few times. And I think the
Right.
hardest thing mentally to get over is to go in your top gear again, because you're
Right.
so afraid that you're going to pull it when you go as
Mm-hmm.
fast as you can. You can go, you can, start to jog, you can run, you can feel a little confident, but to go in your top gear and actually go as fast as you possibly can, it's a mental hurdle to get over, because you're just
Right.
scared that you're
Yes.
going to pull something. And so I think there's that part of it. It just takes a little bit. It just takes time to just keep building that confidence in your body again, that it's not going to let you down again. That's going to be
Right.
able to take it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think on the other side of that, when it comes from recovering from an injury, is I think though one of the hardest things for us as human beings is to be humbled, is to be okay with just being humbled, and to knowing that when you're recovering from an injury, you have to do less. You can't
Yeah.
pick up where you left off. You have to be okay with doing less and just doing a little bit more every day, so that you don't re-injure yourself. I've been through some injuries before where it's taken a long road to recovery, and that is one of the hardest things, is just to be humbled and just to be and to take your time. But if you don't, you'll re-injure yourself, and so it's about being smart and not getting in your own way to re-injure yourself. But then either just be having confidence in your training and know that you did it before, you can do it again, and that just trust the process.
Okay. Trusting the process and being confident that I'll do it again. I'm gonna I'm gonna do that this week. I keep saying that. That's it, and that's my excuse, is just the fear, and just I had the routine down, and now I'm not in that particular routine. I have other routines, but I
Yeah.
gotta get back
I,
at
uh,
it because
I always tell my clients that, that if they're coming back from an injury, we're not picking up where we left off before. We're starting
right.
where you are now, and we're building
Mm-hmm.
back up. That's a tough thing to keep in mind, because once you start to feel better, you have a good day, then you think you can go back to the other spot, and that's when you get yourself in trouble and re-hurt yourself. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to have a plan and stick to it.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, and I'm sure a lot of people relate to that.
Mhm.
And another thing, this is probably pretty relevant to people now. There's a lot of people who feel anxious and depressed right now, everything going on in the world, COVID-19 and all of just everything that's pretty much going on. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world. And there's people who either were struggling before emotional health with their mental health and it's worse, or people who've never struggled with anxiety or depression that are now struggling. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of talk about, of course, medications or meditating, other things, but fitness and exercise. I know it's really good for mental health. So I'm
Mhm.
assuming that you also agree, and
Oh yeah.
something that can help people.
I think for me personally, I mean, it's it's really about it's probably more important for me to get my workouts in. I mean, I want to be strong and have energy and everything, but I think just as important as anything else is for my mental health, to controlling my anxiety, controlling my depression. It's important for me to stick to my work, to stay in a routine with my exercise, but then also
Mm-hmm.
stay in a routine with eating right and making sure I put the right things in my body.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, that is I think exercise and nutrition are the most important first two medicines for our body: exercise and nutrition, and as far as
Yes.
our keep taking care of ourselves and feeling our best. And I mean, it's like that. If you eat terrible, you're going to feel terrible, and it's the same thing with our movement and our exercise. If we don't take care of our body, if we treat our body terribly, then it's not going to run very good. And if we're never using it, and so I mean, I think a lot of people are realizing now, that people that didn't really realize they had anxiety or depression or anything, they're
Mm-hmm.
realizing now that they're working from home or they're not moving as much,
Yes.
they're not out in the sun as much. I know when I had to start doing virtual training, I was in my our basement, our unfinished basement that I refer to as our dungeon. I did my virtual training from down there, and I embraced it for like the first 3 or 4 weeks. And I think I just embraced it and was trying to be a good leader. And so it helped me. I like had some energy from that for the first 3 or 4 weeks. And then after that, the next 3 or 4 weeks was so rough. It's like, I didn't realize there's no windows down here. It's dark down
Mm.
here. It was bad for my mental health. And so
Yeah.
I just really hope we never have to go back to that part. I hope that if we have a stay-at-home order here again, I can
Yeah.
at least do my training from the studio here.
Oh, okay.
But
That's good.
yeah, but I know, but that is a really important. I think people are realizing now that COVID and the pandemic has happened, that how important, not just before how they look and their physical goals on the scale, but how important it is for them internally and how they feel and how they control their energy and their anxiety, how important it is for their health to get their exercise in and stay in a routine. And so they may not have the gym anymore, but it's
Mm-hmm.
important to find a way, because we all need those endorphins. We need to manage that energy. We need to take care of ourselves. And I think people are realizing more than ever how important it is.
Definitely. And like you mentioned, a lot more people are working from home, so they're not even moving as much. Some people walk to work or biked, they're not doing that, or they're just not moving as much during the day, and they're not getting changes of scenery. They're not going to the gym. And also with eating during quarantine, some people have really taken upon it to really eat better, which is great. For me, and now I'm back to it, but I was eating really good before. And then when it started, I got really thrown off and started eating sugar and just stuff that I was always preaching against, which is funny, but just because I was anxious. So
Yeah,
getting back into it,
I get it.
It's just getting back into it. How can people just get back into it, especially someone who was motivated before, when it's just, I guess it was just the routine being thrown off and all the uncertainty, people worried about, losing their jobs. And sometimes you turn to comfort food.
And whenever we have a big change in our lives, normally where we lose balance
Mm-hmm.
is our health and our fitness routine. And so whenever we have a big change in our life, or it be good or bad. So there's this over the years, I've learned this to be so true with all my clients, or where clients have came back to me after they've been gone for a while and they need help to get back on track. And it's normally because maybe they got married, or they got divorced, or they got promoted, or they got fired, something, whether it be good or bad. There was a big
Mm-hmm.
change in their life, and then they never really fully adjusted to it on the side of their activity, their exercise, or nutrition. Everywhere else they did, but they didn't quite there. And so it really affected them. And so the same thing, I think, has been true during this pandemic. I mean, our routines have been changed. It just, all of us have adapted differently. Some people saw a positive
Mm-hmm.
change to it, and some people saw a negative one. But we have to kind of, I think, it just taking a step back and kind of taking a chance to really observe, as far as how we are with our priorities, our family, our career, and our health and our fitness. How has this change affected how active we are? How has it affected how we eat? Are we eating more because we're anxious? Are we eating less because we're anxious? That could happen both ways. And some people have a tough time eating because they're so nervous or anxious.
Like
and so just, I think, taking the time to be observant of where you are and are you doing the right things and how can you do better going forward.
And you brought up a good point. Some people don't eat a lot when they're anxious, and that's very common. Or they'll just eat bland things. Yeah, just trying to even get it, because you have to eat healthy. It's not just about not eating, because then you have no energy, and you can.
Yeah. I know both ways are bad, but I really am I can't help being envious of people that don't have an appetite when they're anxious, because I have such an appetite when I'm anxious, and I can overeat like crazy if I'm feeling nervous or anxious about something. And so I know either way is a problem, but I think the first step is really just being able to be honest and be observant of yourself, and really be aware, to be able to be self-aware of what you're doing. That's the first step. I mean, that's something I've really learned since the pandemic, being able to have that ability just to take a step back and be self-aware of what you're doing. And if you need to kind of pay more attention of what you're doing and change things.
Absolutely. And you touched on the point about, for some places in this country, in the world, the gyms are closed, the classes are closed, and some people were motivated by being around other people that would help motivate them, and they can't do that now. It's not, there's the Zoom classes, and a lot of people don't feel as motivated by that, or they have to work out at home or in nature, which is wonderful, but it's a transition for a lot of people. Do you have any tips on that? I know that you said you brought your classes virtual.
Yeah. I mean, that's a hard thing to overcome. I mean, that when you don't have, if you've been energized by a crowd, I mean, if you're an extroverted person, or that's where you get a lot of energy, being around other people, and you don't have that now. I mean, we have virtual classes that we do through Zoom now. And so there's a little bit, I mean, it doesn't replace it, but there's still there can be a little bit of community aspect of it still. And so we're trying to get that community back. But you have to find a way. And I think it's a big change, and change is hard sometimes, but I think a lot of times just going back to your why, you're struggling, you're having to find a new way of motivating yourself to get your workouts in. So maybe it won't be the crowd that you're around before, that your accountability partners, your friends that you went and did the workout with. You won't have that as your accountability now, but you can still mirror that in other ways. But a lot, I think sometimes it starts by just going back to your why. And so besides that accountability, and that it was a good, strong force of accountability to you working out with your friends, what other reasons were you working out? And I think digging in a little deeper and going back. And so you're going to have to find a way to get some motivation to keep you working out again. Otherwise, you're going to really bring yourself to a dark place, because you're going to lose all that stress relieving, anxiety relieving, all that energy, endorphin giving thing you were having before. And so, I mean, it's hard to mirror a group class and the energy you might get from a group class. But I think one thing my community, our fitness community, has had to learn, I mean, whether we didn't have the gym to work out anymore, so we were doing a virtual workout, we were just doing what they had at home, or we were just doing workouts with what we had around the house. But I think that you either find a way or find an excuse. And that's the bottom line. And so, I mean, it's not easy right now. And so that's just the way it goes. But I mean, you have to either find a way or find an excuse. And so that you can find a way to get some energy and keep yourself accountable and get the reward of keep making fitness a priority in your life. Or you can find an excuse to not, and keep reaping the difficulty of not having that in your life.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. You either find an excuse or you find the why, and you do it. And that's good for all of us to remember, especially me.
I have sympathy though, because I definitely can empathize with anyone struggling right now.
Yeah,
Because I know, I mean,
me
I'm an
too.
introvert, and so I am. And after 3 or 4 weeks,
Yeah,
I still was exhausted
yeah,
being by myself in the
yeah,
basement
me too.
working out. And so I know the people that really get energized
Oh
from my
yeah,
group classes, and they love coming to those. I know it's a challenge right now, but I mean that you can still do it, and it won't last forever. Just have to keep in mind that it's not going to last forever, and eventually we'll get to do all these classes again. It just
yeah,
might be a while.
absolutely. Yeah, there's definitely. I'm the same way. I'm more introverted, but after a few weeks of just not seeing people, I was sometimes doing yoga and just seeing other people in the class. I still miss that, even though
Mhm.
I do get my energy. Introverts get their energy recharge alone. I still, after a few weeks, I missed seeing people. So I can imagine for an extrovert who gets their energy from crowds and being around people, it must be so difficult.
Yeah. I know one thing that helped me. One thing that helped me and my girlfriend is we definitely go on
Hmm.
more walks
Yes.
now. I mean, we have a dog that's the mascot of our gym, and so he's always been an
Oh,
accountability for us
good.
to get our walks in. But we definitely do that. We definitely have elevated that to another level. And so that's one thing I would suggest. So look for other ways. And so maybe working out in your gym is not giving you any energy right now. And so maybe your workout just needs to look different. Maybe it needs to
Yeah.
be outside. And so maybe you won't be in a group of people, but you'll at least be outside getting some sun, and maybe
Yeah.
you'll see other people outside when you do it. And so I would just challenge you to, if it's not what you're doing now isn't giving you your energy, and it's just too much of a challenge, get yourself to do it. But I'd look for another
Hmm.
thing you can do. Your workout you can do anything for your workout. It doesn't have to be weights. It can be outside. It can be cardio. It can be working out just on equipment outside. It can be going for a walk or a jog with your pet. And so, or I mean, so it doesn't. I would maybe just change it a little bit to find something that's a little easier for you to do right now.
Absolutely. Those are great suggestions. And so I had a couple more questions, not too many, but for some people, fitness and exercise is a chore. It's something that, okay, I have to do it. Either my doctor said or that I should do it, or, oh gosh, I want to lose 10 pounds, or, I want to stay healthy. I need to stay healthy, but it's a chore. And how can people change their mindset and see it as fun? It's something that's going to, because once you start doing it, you realize that it's fun and you look forward to it and you don't see it as a chore.
Mm. Yeah, I think some not every you don't it doesn't there's nothing wrong with not
True.
liking working out. And so I mean that's something that you don't want to there's no need to beat
Yeah.
yourself up for or to try to change who you are. If you don't like lifting weights and you don't feel like you ever will. I mean, I think Jillian Michaels is famous, or maybe it's not her. I don't want to
Hmm.
quote for her, but I feel like it's her that said that she doesn't like working out,
Okay.
but she does it because she likes the results and likes what she
Right.
gets from working out. But I follow her, so I know I get a lot of exercises that she does, and so I know that there's things she likes doing, and so that's the biggest thing is once you find stuff that you do like to do, and then try to find as many things like that
Okay.
as you can. And so once you find something that you like to do, find as many things like that exercise or like that workout that you can. That's a big thing in the right direction. I know my dad always said growing up when the exercise, the best exercise for you is the one you like the best, because that's the one you're going to keep doing. And I think there's a lot there's a lot to that. There's a lot of ways that makes a lot of sense. And so if you like playing, I mean, if you like playing intramural sports, I mean, you
Yeah,
can't really
that's
do that
fun.
right now, but there's still something you could probably do that's like it. And so I would try to find different things that are like what you like to do at least, and try to mirror it as much as you can. That's one excuse that pops up a lot of times with my clients. If they go on vacation or if they go do something and maybe they find out that they don't actually have the right
Hmm.
equipment to do the workout I gave them. And so they use that excuse not to do it. And that you can't ever do that. You can't ever use that excuse, because there's always a way you can do
Right.
it similar. There's a way you can do it that's close to what I did. And that's what I would challenge you to do is search for something that you do like. And so don't force yourself to be someone you're not, and try to make yourself like something that you hate, because you're probably never going to pull that off. I would search for more things that you do like, and find something that really fits with who you are and fits your personality, fits your lifestyle.
That's a really good point, to find something that fits your lifestyle and fits what you like. I really like that. And you're probably less likely to find excuses to not do it if you really do like
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm. You even find yourself after a while looking
Yeah.
forward to it. And that's when you really figured it out then.
Yes, I know when I was running, I liked to listen. It was just my time. It was my alone time. I could listen to music or I would listen to podcasts. So I'd look forward to that.
Music's a
Yeah, it's
big one
really
for me
motivating.
too. If I have a tough time, if I have a tough time getting myself to run, or I've been trying to get more of a running routine now because we were planning on a race in here in a few months, but it just recently got canceled. But we're going to try to pretend it's still going on though. I mean, my girlfriend and keep training for it, but that's one thing that really helps me when I have a tough time. If I haven't ran in a long time and I'm trying to get back in shape for a running race or something, but getting a new playlist, getting a playlist that is not just an old playlist, but making a new one of songs I hadn't heard for a while or songs I really like or new songs, and only listen to it when you do that workout. That's the only time you get to listen to that playlist is when you work out. And it's just a little thing, but it can really help you kind of change your mindset a little bit from dreading your workout to looking forward to doing your workout because I get to listen to this playlist. It's like tricking yourself.
Nice. That's a really good point. And music can be really motivating. And now for you, how did you get into fitness? Were you always into fitness from when you were young? Was it a dream of yours to be a trainer, or is there something in your life that put you on this path?
I think it's one of those things where it just kind of makes sense later, where you can't, like Steve Jobs says, you can't count the dots looking forward. You can only count them going back. And I think that's something that applies to me. I think I always had I was a PE teacher and I went to college to be an athlete. But other than that, I didn't ever. I kind of stumbled across personal training and it just ended up being a really good fit for me, better than anything else. And it stuck with me. But I think exercise and nutrition and just taking care of my body has always been something I kind of did without realizing I did it so much to take care of myself. I did to control my anxiety, control my depression, and just feel good. And I think I realizing how important that was for me, it kind of helped me figure out how important it is and how I could be a leader in that for everybody else. And so it's something that's kind of developed in me over time. And it's taken a while to really make sense, but definitely makes sense. And now and how I can be a better teacher of that, of how important it is to make fitness a priority.
Great. And so your book is available, I'm assuming, on the normal channels, Amazon and
yes, I actually have 3 books. I have so Make Fitness a Priority. They're all Make Fitness a Priority, just the subtitle's different. So they're easy to find. I had Make Fitness a Priority, How to Win the Fight Against Your Excuses was our first one. And we had I have Make Fitness a Priority, a 6-week workbook. And so I have a 6-week workbook that's if you're trying to figure out how to figure out a fitness program that fits in your life. And so it's not a short-term fix. It's not 6 weeks to get you the most results you can. It's 6 weeks to figure out how fitness best fits in your life. And so that's why I always tell people if they want to get long-term success and not just succumb to temptation to instant gratification, that's where you want to start. And so that our 6-week workbook, and we have a new book that's out right now. It's a bestseller on Amazon. That's Make Fitness a Priority. It's 30 tips to elevate your life through fitness. And so we have a community here, and we have a Saturday workout that we do every week. And we started taking 2 or 3 minutes in the middle of the workout just to give a tip. Me and another trainer who co-authored the book with me. And so the idea was just that if you try to change too many things at once, you end up changing nothing. And so just giving you something, that one thing in a week that you can kind of take and try to master as a behavior, as a habit. And so those 3 books, and Make Fitness a Priority is where you can find me everywhere. MakeFitnessAPriority.com is my website. I'm Make Fitness a Priority on Facebook and Instagram. But if you're looking for somewhere to start and your goal is to get off the roller coaster and stop making this a temporary thing, but try to figure out how it really fits in your life, then the 6-week challenge is where I would start. And you can see that as soon as you go to MakeFitnessAPriority.com, it's one of the first things you'll see when you go to my.
Great. So MakeFitnessAPriority.com, and everything can be found from there. Mm-hmm. Great. Mm-hmm. Yes. Do you have anything that you'd like to share with my listeners before we sign off?
I think the most important lesson I like to finish with is just that failing is okay. I talk a lot about making fitness a priority and how to make it a long-term thing, and to talk about the roller coaster ride that people get in where they fall in and out of their routine. And when I say that, I want people to be clear that I'm saying this because I've learned it myself. And just like everybody else, I've fallen off tracks and got back on track several times. And I've learned that failing is not something to beat yourself up. If you fall off track, or if you fall off track with your fitness routine, or you mess up one weekend and you have something that wasn't on your plan, beating yourself up for it is not the response to have. The response to have is just figuring out how I can get back on track, and knowing that failing and falling off track from time to time is part of the fitness journey. And your fitness journey doesn't have to end there. It's just, you need to have the response. How do I get back on track? It's what you do next that counts.
Great. Thank you so much for that. That's a really good tip. So Chad, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was a great discussion. And I know it's going to help a lot of people, especially right now and in general. So going forward. And again, your website is makefitnessapriority.com. And so people can go there and They can contact you there too with questions, I assume, if they want to work with you. Thank you and have a great rest of your day.
Great. Thanks for having me on.
Susan, you remember the time we were in Orange County? We were driving around and we got lost, and we ran into this place called
Avila's El Ranchito.
You remember the place? The place had awesome decor and authentic margaritas.
Did you know that Avila's El Ranchito has been around since 1966? They have 13 locations throughout Orange County. Visit Salvador Avila's location in Lake Forest and Foothill Ranch for great food, ambiance, and specialty margaritas.
Thank you for listening to this episode of A Teaspoon of Healing. If you have any questions for me or for Chad, visit my website, teaspoonofhealing.com, and click on Contact. You can also find the show notes for this episode and all the other episodes there, as well as resources on wellness, nutrition, Reiki, and more. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. It's available on iTunes, Spotify, and many other sites. So if you don't want to miss another episode, please click subscribe.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. Please consult a physician or other health professional before undertaking changes in lifestyle or wellness habits. The author claims no responsibility to any person or entity for any liability, loss, or damage caused or alleged to be caused directly or indirectly as a result of the use, application, or interpretation of the information presented herein.